What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Just Another Tech and Gaming Show. You got Nick and Victor here bringing you our opinions on the Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, and everything that Microsoft announced earlier this week. So, Victor, they really have brought us quite a bit of news on these consoles lately. Prior to this week, I think we didn't even know about the Xbox Series S, and now we know that Microsoft has some skin in the game for next generation when it comes to a lower end, lower cost console. The Xbox Series S, which is about a third, I guess, is powerful when you're measuring based on teraflops, as the Xbox Series X. Names are so hard and easy to fudge up. But it's substantially less powerful, is more geared towards 1440p instead of 4K. It's $299, and it looks like a really small, compact console. I guess it's the smallest Xbox that Microsoft has made. Honestly, it looks pretty good. Yeah. I don't know what your stance is on it, but I actually think it's a really compelling value.
Yeah, it's really good value. I was really surprised to see that kind of price point on a next generation console. The small form factor is definitely going to be a plus as well. A lot of people don't really have 4K TVs that they game on, even till this day. You know, some people just play on a standard 1080p monitor, which is fine. For those people who don't really necessarily need to jump all into 4K right now, I think it's a great alternative. You're going to get the next gen load times. You're going to get all that, most of that great stuff without sacrificing anything for not getting that higher end version. So I think it's really great. I like that they did that. It was a bit shocking for me, but I guess I shouldn't be too surprised considering what they did with the Xbox Series X. So, I'm sorry, the Xbox One X. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, I mean, it was interesting to me, and I think it's a great idea. Honestly, I say I was going to get the Xbox Series X hands down, but I might consider the S. I mean, that console is still a great console for the price point. You really can't complain too much. So I'm really liking that, Nick. Really liking it a lot.
Yeah, I think that the S, I'm just going to refer to them as the S and the X, and I'll try to be as pronounced with the lettering as I can. The S is really compelling at that $299 price point. I mean, you get to buy into next generation. It's cheaper than even a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X was.
Yeah.
And you still get the NVMe SSD super fast drive inside. Now, it is only 512 gigabytes, and I kind of wanted to talk about that because I don't really think that's bad for $299. I think that's actually not too bad to have 512 gigs, but there are some games, as you and I have both seen, that take up like 100 plus gigs of space because they have 4K textures and 4K video, cutscenes in it. And some of those games can take up 100 plus gigabytes. Gears of War 4 is a good example of that. I think Gears of War 5 is close or possibly over that limit now. Halo 5 takes up a ton of space. It's not just Microsoft games. Modern Warfare, the most current iteration from Call of Duty, is like 110 gigs. There are a lot of games that take up a substantial amount of space, and I assume a lot of it is because they're 4K now, but some of these games just take up massive amounts of space. And, with that in mind, there's a chance you could have, I would say, probably no more than, I don't know, I want to say 10, but probably even less than that, 7 or 8 full-scale AAA games on your Xbox Series S. And the X fares a little bit better because it's got twice as much storage. I mean, it damn well should, I guess, for an extra $200. But it is really, I mean, these consoles, even the PlayStation, I'm not going to give the PlayStation 5 a pass here. I know we're talking about Xbox, but the PlayStation 5 has 825 gigabytes standard. And all these consoles to me seem a little low. Now, luckily, they all have the option to add storage. And I think Sony's option is a little bit better because, well, I guess we're going to see. Because they need to talk about the drives that are compatible with it, but you're just going to be able to put a standard NVMe drive in there, PCIe. And that is just, like a stick of memory that you could buy, or a stick of storage that you could buy from Amazon, Newegg, Best Buy, what have you. And I don't think it needs to be, any particular branding. It's just going to come down to compatibility. And, Sony will bring that information out later, so we won't talk too much on that now. But Microsoft has another option, which is going to be almost like the memory cards of old. And these are going to be, I don't know if there's going to be any other iterations of this, but I think they have a terabyte one, and it's made specifically by Seagate. They have a port in the back. This is for the Xbox Series S and the X. And it's a proprietary port that you can plug that into. And apparently, I don't know if we talked about this or not, but I saw that, somewhere out there, there's dummy pricing for it at like $220 for 1 terabyte of extra storage. And honestly, that's the kind of the only thing that is holding me back right now, because spending $220 to get an extra terabyte, which I feel like we know we're going to need, is kind of a lot of money. I mean, what's your take on that? I feel like $299 for the console is great, but then to spend an extra $220 to get, another terabyte of storage is a lot. And that's your only option for getting more series, next generation games. I'll just leave it at that. Next generation games on there. To my knowledge, you might be able to hook up an older style hard drive to the console, external, and play, Xbox One and Xbox and then Xbox 360 games on it. But as far as playing the next generation games, they need to be on an NVMe drive. So they'd have to be on that, memory stick that Seagate's selling, the proprietary one, or the native hard drive of the console. So, I mean, it seems like at some point with only 512 gigabytes on your console, that's going to be a necessary purchase.
Oh yeah, hands down. I'm a bit shocked. That's quite a bit high. Honestly, I'd rather go through the struggle than shell out $220 for it if that is the final pricing. That's just way too much. If it's over, that's like over 70%, 80% of the price of the actual console itself. It seems a little
that's
overkill.
A lot of cost.
Yeah, that's a lot. So for an accessory, nonetheless, an essential accessory to most, but an accessory nonetheless,
Right. For sure.
And the prices of SSDs obviously are going down. Memory always goes down. We all know that, storage. So I think they're gambling pretty high with this price point. If it is the actual price point of the SSD, we don't know. It's just all speculation from a leak. But, we just don't know. And I really want to see something in the 150 price range. I feel like 150 I can possibly do. It's a bit high still, but I mean, for a terabyte of, NVMe storage, I feel like I could make that work. But anything over 175 personally for me is just a no-go. Nope, not going to happen. I'd rather spend that time, that hour or whatever, downloading brand new games from scratch and just deleting the old ones off the hard drive and just kind of keep a rotation going. But
yeah, I see where you're coming from on that one. I would say that seems a little bit more feasible on the X because you have the disk drive. So you could buy physical copies. It downloads to the drive, the SSD, and then saves you a little bit of time. The concern is like I have Comcast, for instance, and Comcast has limits on how much data I can use every month. It's like 1.2 terabytes or something. So I can't constantly be removing 100 gigabyte games and then re-downloading 100 gigabyte games. Like theoretically I could because my internet's, fast enough to do that in reasonable amounts of time. But at the same time, there's limiting factors there, and that kind of sucks. But this doesn't seem to be like a specific problem to Xbox. Like I said, I feel like Sony is kind of in this same situation as well. And to put it in perspective, like most PCIe 4.0 NVMe drives are like $200 to $220. So it's not really that shocking that Seagate's charging that much money, but it just kind of gives you a perspective that these consoles, if you want more memory out the gate, if you want a reasonable amount of memory out the gate, you're spending extra money to get it. Now, I really hope that they offer like $120, 512 gigabyte card as well or something like that. But I'm wondering if they will do that. And my other question too is, because it's proprietary, I wonder if it's ever going to go down in price. But
yeah,
we could leave that one on the table for the time being. Do you think that the X like warrants purchasing it over the S at this point? I mean, the extra storage alone and the disk drive does make a pretty big difference, but do you feel like the savings outweigh the benefits at all?
It's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, because there's a lot of people who are like loyal to
Like,
the
say
Xbox.
you had, we'll put it this way. Say that money wasn't really an object for you. Maybe you have $500 or $700 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Would you buy the $300 console and save some money, or would you just spend all of it and get the better Xbox Series X?
I'd probably spend all of it and get the better one. I mean, you're compromising about 1/3 of the power. So I mean, I have a 4K TV. I have no limit to my data cap or anything. So I don't really have anything against
Victor just
me.
doesn't have any problems.
Minimal problems, but I mean, I would really like to enjoy 4K gaming. Right now I have the Xbox One S, which only does 4K playback. It doesn't do 4K gaming or anything like that. So
I know, I can't believe you're still hanging on to that paperweight.
Yeah, but I mean, I really want the Series X. I mean, I love the Xbox brand, and I feel like that harnessing that much power and just having, I feel like such a future-proof console, at least this time, is really going to benefit me. It is pretty big. I can care less about the size. I mean, I want the hard specs, and the 12 teraflops that it's advertising seems really awesome. I'm really excited about what they're doing as far as their whole ecosystem and stuff, how it's evolving. So I mean, I really wouldn't hesitate dropping that 500 for that the full console. But then again, I could also see myself going with the Series S too. It just really depends on how ingrained I am as far as
it
gaming.
Just really depends on which one you can pre-order.
Exactly, and
on September 22nd.
Not to go into another topic, but right now I'm really, really invested into VR right now, just because I'm in the Horizon beta. For those of you who are familiar with that, so right now I'm kind of in the VR space, and I haven't really been gaming much on the Xbox. So for right now, I could possibly realistically see myself getting the cheaper of the two. Just because I'm not.
And then upgrading your PC. Are you thinking about that?
Yeah. I mean,
the 3070 looks like a really good value.
Oh yeah,
from Nvidia coming
great
up.
value. I mean, I'm still rocking a 1080, and it's still a great card. I mean, it runs perfectly fine. I don't have any frame rate drops or anything. We're running pretty good settings. So, yeah, realistically, I could put the rest of that money that I did save for 3000 series, and just be happy. I get the best of both worlds, but. In time, we'll see. My opinion may change. Something might happen. You never know. So as of right now, I can't really say which one I'm going to get, but it's good to know that I do have a cheaper option. Yeah, exactly. And it's all digital too. I could work with that, because right now I don't have a data cap, so I can download as much as I want. But for those who do have a data cap, that might really come into play, because they can't sit there downloading 100 gigabyte games, and all these updates constantly. They're going to go over their bandwidth. It just makes no sense. So I think that's going to play a big part. People might have to shell out more money because they can't risk downloading everything through the internet.
Right. Yeah, that's true too. I feel like, at least it's not a huge price difference. I know that it's almost half the cost at $299, but that's a really good entry price. To put it in perspective from my point of view, in terms of buying it, not buying it, I wasn't really thinking about getting a Series X. Like, the more expensive console just wasn't even on my mind. I want to get a PS5 and call it at that. But I actually feel like getting a Series S now, because it's $299, and then having both consoles, because it's a lower cost of entry. I could still play Xbox games. I could still play next generation Xbox games.
Yeah. And
And
you have your Game
I don't know,
Pass too.
yeah, it's a super compelling offer for somebody that has Game Pass. And, I mean, I wouldn't say that it is kind of for a specific gamer, but it is pretty broad still. Somebody that is interested in getting Game Pass, somebody that doesn't want to spend a bunch of money. I mean, you could spend $15 a month, get Game Pass, and buy the Xbox Series S, and you're in good shape. They also have, I think, like Xbox All Access, which is $25 a month, gets you for 2 years, gets you the Series S and Game Pass. And then I think 35 is the Xbox Series X and Game Pass. And I think in the end, you actually end up saving a little bit of money because Game Pass is $15 a month plus the cost of the Xbox, all divided over, 24 months. I think you actually save a little bit of money because they're saving you some money, presumably on Game Pass. But yeah, I mean, it looks like a really compelling offer. I'm glad that Microsoft brought it out. I think that a lot of people are probably going to buy it. I'm curious to see what sells out first, the Series S or the Series X. But irregardless, pre-orders September 22nd. Mark your calendar, guys. The systems come out November 10th. So keep all that in mind and look forward to more news or, topics of conversation from us soon. Hopefully Sony releases some information shortly because
on that.
yeah, I mean, Microsoft went first. What's up, Sony? I expect they better give us some news next week. I've been waiting eagerly.
And also, I do want to toss this little thing in here. I just found out that the release of the prices for the consoles and that new information that came out wasn't officially scheduled to come out this week. It was supposed to come out next week, but they received some insider information.
Too much
that
information
Sony
got leaked.
Well, it was. Honestly, I don't know how it first came out.
Some of it got leaked, but I'm sorry. I kind of just interrupted you there.
Oh, no problem. No worries. But from what the source I found, it was because they had an inside source to where they suspected Sony to announce something this week as well, and they wanted to be the first ones out there. But it didn't look like that happened. So Phil Spencer did comment on that, saying it wasn't supposed to come out today, but he was happy about the reactions and such. But it was originally slated for next week.
Yeah, that is some interesting news. As far as I had seen, it was similar stuff to that. I believe that the Xbox Series S got leaked, and so they wanted to get ahead of the curve on that one. And I wonder if it just kind of spiraled down from there. But I think it went well. I think a lot of people are very excited for it. And of course, I think that $299 price point has a lot of people looking forward to next generation that may have thought that they weren't going to get a console right away. But it's a good move, and we look forward to more, and we'll bring you more as we hear.